Hi, I'm Cato Andah, and I'm the author of Reflections of a Hopemonger. One question I'm asked quite frequently is, why did you write a book of stories? What is the link of these stories with mental health? And I cover that in the very first chapter of the book, called Storyteller. I'm going to start with quoting the lyrics of this song I love so much, also by the same name. So here goes, excerpts from the first chapter. Um, oh, the mountains where I climbed, the valley where I fell. You were there all along. That's the story I'll tell. You brought the pieces together, made me this storyteller. Now I know it is well, it is well. That's the story I'll tell. And again, these are lyrics from the song Storyteller by Morgan Harper Nichols. I am a storyteller. Our lives are made up of stories. To tell a story is to tell about life. The power of a good story lies in its ability to engage people emotionally and intellectually at a deeper level. Stories are bridges that create connections between different people and their experiences. Thus, a good story helps us to know that we are not alone in our experiences. Most importantly, a good story is one that carries a lesson, which leads us to new insights and a better way of living. Often, we give the world only snippets of our story, especially on social media. Those snippets tend to be the polished, sanitized versions, not the authentic story. Because our authentic personal stories are seldom pretty or glamorous or flattering as they unfold, more often than not, our authentic stories reveal our character defects. More often than not, our authentic stories unfold with blood, sweat, tears, missteps, failures, persistence, resilience, and ultimately, victory. Sometimes the only victory gained is wisdom and insight to not repeat those mistakes. But the truth is that it is our imperfect, gritty, authentic personal stories that people identify with and actually grow from. I share my personal stories to educate, to inject hope, and to inspire people to dig deeper and make a positive change. I share my personal stories to let people know that it's okay to be vulnerable and imperfect. Most of all, I share my personal stories to encourage people to build their faith in God. Being a licensed professional mental health counselor, I prided myself on my ability to dig deep. Based on that premise, I set out confidently to write this book. When I sent my husband my first draft, I waited with bated breath for his feedback. He was underwhelmed. You're holding back, he said. My first instinct was to become defensive, but then I decided to take on his feedback in good faith and reread my essays to see if his observation had any merit. He was right. My argument was that my life experiences were not just about me. My life and my stories were interwoven with my loved ones, and I wanted to spare them the ordeal of being judged. But even as I put forward that argument, I realized that the full truth was that I was the one who was afraid to reveal too many unflattering details in my stories. It takes courage to share our authentic personal stories. But whenever we do, we create amazing opportunities to replace ignorance with insight, to replace stigma with education, and to replace the feeling of isolation with the fellowship of our authentic warrior stories. Kudos to the brave souls who have shared about how diabetes or autism or mental illness or cancer or single parenthood has affected their lives. Even more kudos to them for creating safe, open dialogues and support networks. You are the real MVPs. By sharing your authentic personal stories, you have been lifesavers. Author Brené Brown made this profound statement. When we deny our stories, they define us. When we own our stories, we get to write a brave new ending. So let's not hold back from sharing our stories. Here are some of mine. And this is from the chapter Storyteller, from the book Reflections of a Hopemonger. What is your story?